Hey. Listening on YouTube right now, we know there's thousands of you on there right now watching this. Welcome once again to the latest episode of Pucks Deep. Oh, look at that, Ishmael. I am one of your hosts from the East Coast, Rob Cattell. I'm joined from our girl with the most from the West Coast, Carla Miyake. And of course, in Canada, still gloating. It's been a week, but still gloating over Team Canada's overtime victory over Team USA. Ismail Fassi, he hasn't come off of his cloud yet. He's, Canadians, they're all happy. They saved their country from becoming the 51st state. So everybody in Canada is just celebrating as if, I don't know. So before we get into our discussions of this week, we were discussing this before the show began. Carly and I, we're gonna sit back and we're gonna let our lone Canadian fan gloat and let him enjoy the fruits of victory, and because this will probably be the only time he'll get to root for anything that's going to win this year anyway, because we know his Maple Leafs are going to choke. So, Ishmael, now that your team has survived and they've won the Four Nations tournament, which was a great tournament, the hockey was fantastic. It kicked the NBA's ass in ratings, which I love. We're going to let you sit. We're going to just sit back now and let you have the throne. And tell us why the win was so great for Canada.
Well, obviously, before we had this whole thing beginning up, before this whole thing had begun, you guys were like, "Oh, Ishmael is so quiet and everything." Well, now you know why I was quiet, because I had this whole entrance planned out. So you know why I was quiet. So. So yeah, just
very well choreographed.
It was really nice.
So,
the sunglasses were a good touch, actually. I think you should leave them on. Yes, but obviously, they played great. And as we were discussing before we went on the air, Jordan Binnington won you that hockey game, my friend. And I think you need to give a lot of thanks to the St. Louis goaltender. But again, take some time to enjoy this victory before we move on to other things, and tell us your feelings.
Well, obviously, victory like this for the nation of Canada it's very big. As a Canadian, I'm celebrating it. Everyone here is celebrating it. But the thing about Jordan Binnington is that he was like, I never said he was a bad goalie. He was never a bad goalie. He was in fact unpredictable, and you can ask any team, whether it's a national team or it's a franchise. In sports terms, an unpredictable goalie is basically an unreliable goalie. So if you look on paper, a team that's that has Connor Hellebuyck as a goalie, who has been spectacular throughout the entire tournament, and then Jordan Binnington, you would look at it as a game that favors the team with Jordan Binnington with Connor Hellebuyck. So obviously, Jordan Binnington had his best game and Hellebuyck had his worst game, and that's what it all boiled down to. All the players in the middle of the ice, they were even Steven. Jordan Binnington had his best game, Hellebuyck had his worst game, and that's what it's all boiled down to, and that was the difference maker. And and that's why in a 1-game, 2-game series, you have a tie, one game. What this requires, actually, is a best of 7 series. Maybe we should ask Gary Bettman, how about instead of a 4-nation series, we have a best of 7, best of 9 game series between Canada and the United States, kind of like the way the women's have like a 7-game series in the rivalry series. So that's something that we could look forward to. But this is a wake-up call for Team Canada as they prepare for the Olympics next year, because they stole a victory this time around, but they might not get so lucky with an unreliable goalie with Binnington next year.
I'm not going to use injuries as an excuse, but okay, I will. Obviously, the U.S. came in a little undermanned to start the game without Charlie McAvoy. And then, of course, the major loss during the game was the fact that Matthew Tkachuk just couldn't play. He just couldn't get out there and play. And obviously, he was a main component to the Team USA's success. So you're missing one of your top defensemen. You're missing one of your top forwards. For some strange reason, even though I was happy that Mike Sullivan put Chris Kreider into the game, he didn't play him. So you basically had 10 forwards for Team USA playing that game against pretty much a healthy Canadian squad. There was nobody really playing injured as far as I know. But I think, that was a factor in the end result. Hey, look, the bottom line was the game was tied going into overtime, even with the Americans down a couple of players. But Carly, obviously it was a great game. And, what it did overall for the sport of hockey was probably even more important than the results of the game.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to agree with you with the injuries, because I'm also going to use that as an excuse, because why not? I mean, we might as well. We have it. But you also have to think, keep in mind, we lost McAvoy, we lost Matthew Tkachuk, but also Brady wasn't playing his best because now he's out and he's going to miss another game right now. We also had Austin Matthews coming back after a injury as well. So even though we lost 2 players, we still technically had 2 other players that were pushing through and not their 100%. And I'm going to agree with you on the fact that Canada literally had no injuries whatsoever. No. And I think Hellebuck he was getting tired. He played a hell of a series, and it was just, he held them the best he could that third period. But that overtime, our guys kind of gave up and let McDavid have the run.
At the end of the day, it was a great experiment from the NHL to do this. Obviously, not having every country involved, to me, was a detriment. And, for political reasons, not having Russia, we talked about this last week. So I think moving forward, it's kind of a precursor to the Winter Olympics for next year, because next year, God willing, there'll be no more war in Ukraine, and Russia will be involved in the Olympics. And you'll have all the countries involved. And you'll have Czechia, you'll have Russia, you'll even have Switzerland, Norway, all these other teams. So that's really a real tournament. And the interesting thing, I don't think you'll see the same Team USA next year that you did this year. I think there'll be a lot of players from this year's team that you will not see on next year's team. I don't think Kreider will be on the team, obviously. I don't think Vinny Trocheck did anything. It's funny, these are all Rangers. I honestly think, and this is blasphemy, I think Adam Fox, former Norris Trophy winner, had a terrible series. He was invisible. So I think there's going to be a lot of fresh blood on the team next year that was not selected this time around. So I think you're going to have another team representing the U.S. But the bottom line, the most important thing for me is I think USA Hockey now has shown Canada that it's equal. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't say that. It's not the same anymore. Both teams are very competitive. And Ishmael, like you said, it's like the women's teams, the Americans and the Canadians, they're constantly playing in these tournaments, and they're so equally matched. You just never know who's going to win. So at the end of the day, I think there were a total of over 14, 15 million people in Canada and the U.S. that watched the game. It was the highest rated hockey game of all time in the States that was not a playoff game. And I just have to think, with all the local stations here, especially in New York, talking about this event that never talk hockey, it just shows you that hopefully this event will spur on growth of the sport. We could talk about this in another episode. There's a lot of ways to increase exposure, and I don't want to get into it now, but one of the things I think needs to do is I think the NHL needs to go to some of these manufacturers of hockey equipment and say, look, hockey's too expensive for kids nowadays. If you want to grow the sport, bring down your prices if you can. Make it more accessible for young kids to play it, because nowadays, how much does it cost for a kid to get a basketball? Nothing.
$20 at the most, depending on what brand.
Yeah, but hockey, unless parents have a lot of money, they may not want to, fund you to play that sport because it's very expensive. But again, Ishmael, Carly, and I, we give you kudos. We congratulate you. We hope you enjoyed your moment of victory, but it's over. Done.
We'll have Quinn Hughes next year, I promise.
Well,
Exactly.
Rob, one thing that I wanted to add about the victory for Canadians is that if you noticed, in the finale against the USA, um, Canada did not give up any penalty points, penalty minutes. If you notice that, so that talks about how disciplined this team was. Because in the game before against Finland, I believe at one point the Finns had a man advantage, and Jordan Bennington he conceded 2 goals from the Finns. So I believe that if the Canadians had been short-handed for even a power play, haven't even conceded a 2-minute power play session, I believe that would have put a lot of pressure on Bennington. So kudos to the Canadians for staying disciplined, and I believe that in the end helped them out a lot. And I don't think many people are talking about that.
Well, there was only one penalty in the entire game. I mean, the Americans took 1 penalty, Canada took none. It wasn't. I think the referees were just there for skate. They didn't call anything. But you know what? I'm okay with that. Let the players decide it. I don't want a referee to decide a championship game. So I'm okay with the fact that there were no penalties called, and I can't blame the loss on the fact that we didn't get any power plays because it is what it is. But again, it was a great tournament. We'll never see it again, but it was a great tournament. But for one and done, it was fun, and now we can look forward to the Olympics next year in Italy. The only negative, and I mentioned this in one of my articles on Stadium Rant, was the games will not be played in prime time here in North America because they're in Italy. With the time difference, you have to wonder what time are these games going to be aired live. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine in the media here who works for a radio station. He says he thinks what the NHL will do is they will get with the International Olympic Committee, and when they do their scheduling of the games, even though there is a 6 or 7 hour time difference between Italy and at least the East Coast, I don't know what it is. It would be worse for the West Coast. They're going to try to schedule the games at a time out there where they can air at a better time in the States to get more eyes on the game. Because the worst was you watch games in China, and the games are at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, what is this? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we got the Olympics, and then in 2028 we'll have the World Cup of Hockey coming back again. So fun stuff coming down the road for the NHL. So let's move on. Unless anybody else has anything else to say about it, we can move on to the NHL, which is what we're here talking about. The league is back, and I guess if you guys want to talk about the most pressing event is the fact that the NHL trading deadline is coming up on March 7th. So we're about 10 days away. It's a very interesting trade deadline this year. There have been a few trades, some big trades, but not as many as you normally would get. And as I said to Carly before the show started, I think this year's trade deadline is all going to happen the day of, because there's so many teams in the mix right now for playoff positioning that there are a lot of teams out there right now that probably don't even know what they're going to do yet. Do they want to be a buyer, or do they want to be a seller? So I think it's going to be an extremely active trade deadline, and there's been a lot of rumors out there which we can discuss. But I think a lot of stuff's going to happen March 6th, March 7th. So Carly, what are your thoughts right now? What do you think's going on out there?
I'm irritated with Vancouver right now just because, again, everything's rumors. Nothing has been set and done. And you have Brock Besser, who technically his contract came up last summer to re-sign, and then the team has just kind of pushed it off a little bit. And he's getting frustrated because he hasn't re-signed, and we're getting closer. So it makes you wonder, are they going to wait until the last minute and then trade him, or are they going to wait till the last minute and try to sign him for a smaller deal than what he wants? So I'm just kind of getting irritated at that because Brock hasn't been his rock star self this year. If you looked at his record last year, he had a really great season. But he is a very consistent, reliable player for the most part. And so I would hate to see him go. But my other Achilles heel is Elias Pettersson, and he hasn't done jack anything after signing that contract last year. And I honestly would like to see him go because he's not benefiting us whatsoever. So my opinion on the rumors right now is that I'm sick and tired of rumors and I just want something to happen because I'm getting irritated.
And what did Pedersen say? Get rid of JT Miller and I'll bust out and start performing. Well,
And
JT's been
has he?
gone for a few
No.
weeks. Nothing.
Elias was playing in Vegas when I was there. They weren't sure if he was even going to play. He made it on the ice. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you, like, unless I saw his jersey number, he made no like shown that he was there. Like literally it was a Jake DeBrusk show and I would be okay with that. But yeah, I was like, why are you even out there? You're just a body. Get off the ice.
You guys both know who Don Cherry is, right? Oh, look,
Mhm.
Yep, we know him right here in Canada.
Don Cherry, one of Don Cherry's biggest pet peeves is he hates or hated. He's still alive. He hates European hockey players. He thinks they're soft. And honestly, I'm kind of agreeing with him. Unless you're somebody like an Alex Ovechkin who throws your weight around and does that, most of these European players, they're just too goddamn soft. And if I was a GM of a hockey team, I'm stocking my team with Americans and Canadian players, and that's it. Enough of these Europeans who, one year they show up, next year they don't show up. The Swedes, I'm done with it. So, Don Cherry, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, I agree with you. Because these European players are soft. So, Pedersen, he should put up now because he's got no excuses. And you're right, he's not doing anything. So,
And he signed that major contract, so it's kind of like, hey, you wanted to stay there. They gave you what you wanted. Now make something happen.
yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, he said, get rid of JT Miller and I'll play better. And no, he hasn't. Like, I'm getting frustrated with that.
Ishmael,
But yeah.
For Ishmael, for your wonderful Maple Leafs, what are you hearing about this team? Obviously, this team is always going to do something at the deadline. They're always in the mix. Right now, I believe, I don't have the standings in front of me, I believe they're in first place in the Atlantic.
Yes, sir.
But they're never satisfied with the team.
I'm pretty sure
Are you hearing any Maple Leaf rumors in your neck of the woods?
I'm pretty sure you. First off, I'm pretty sure you must have catched their game against the Bruins last night.
Yes.
That overtime victory. So that was pretty much making waves. But I think one of their deadline targets would be Max Domi. Like I would say, like that's my preference. Like he should be. I think traded away. Because I think his time is coming up in Toronto. But I think in our neck of the woods, one person who the Leafs have been targeting was St. Louis Blues captain Brady Shen. So that was that's you. That was the guy. That was the player that the Leafs had been in touch with just to replace around the middle six where Max Domi plays. So that's been around. That's been the news around here. So in the north.
Before I talk about my team here in the East Coast, as I said to you guys earlier, the one bugaboo with all these Canadian teams is I do not think their goaltending is strong enough, except for Winnipeg, who obviously have a great goaltender. Teams that are going to be in the playoffs, like Edmonton, like Toronto, to a lesser extent, Ottawa, if they do make the playoffs, goaltending's soft. So could you imagine, Ishmael, Toronto getting Jordan Binnington in a trade? Could you imagine Edmonton getting Jordan Binnington in a trade? Now, there's no guarantee St. Louis is going to trade Binnington, but it looks like the Blues are not going to make the playoffs this year. So Binnington's won a cup already in St. Louis. And if they think that they can improve their team by moving one of their better trade chips, who's to say that St. Louis wouldn't move Binnington? And I'll tell you right now, if they put him in Toronto or Edmonton, they're a serious cup contender in my eyes.
Toronto?
Yeah. Or Edmonton. I know I'm shocking you by this statement because you're.
Yeah, you are because they just
yeah, really. Apparently,
because I believe they just signed Anthony Stolarz in the offseason, right? So
Anthony Stolarz is not winning you a cup.
are you sure?
Oh no.
Because I think I believe he has he's after Connor Hellebuck, he has I believe the second most goal saves above expected, something like that.
Uh-huh. Do you
So-
honestly really believe that Anthony Stolarz is a Stanley Cup winning goaltender?
He did literally was on a Stanley Cup winning team last year.
He might have been on there as the water boy, but did he win the games? I'll ask you again. Is Anthony Stolarz a Stanley Cup winning goaltender? Gun to your head.
So far, it's been working out well. So I'll take what I can get. Us Torontonians can take whatever we can get right now. So
Okay. I'll say it again.
I mean, I've made myself clear about Jordan Binnington.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. If Toronto wins the cup this year with Anthony Stolarz in goal, I will relocate from Long Island to Canada and live with you. Okay, that's what it'll be.
I mean, you shouldn't be
It
taking
ain't
that
happening. It's not happening. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
No, if we get past if we get past even round number 2,
Yeah.
like if we win even 3 games in round number 2, I'd consider that a success because we've never even touched that round.
What are you talking about? A success, dude. You haven't won a cup in 57 years. You shouldn't be satisfied with a second round win. What is that?
You've never touched.
What is wrong with you? I'm a Ranger fan. I've seen one. Well, I haven't seen. I haven't been alive that long. But the Ranger fans haven't seen one cup in 85 freaking years. One, and you'll be satisfied getting out of the second round. See, this is why the Maple Leafs are not going to win a cup. It's fans like you who are satisfied getting to the third round. Oh my God!
No, that's just to appease you.
Conversation.
It's about you as a Ranger fan. We kick you out. Goodbye.
No, that's just to appease you. I want to go all the way, but that's
of course
just.
You don't even say that. Don't say I'll be happy getting into the third round. What is that? See, the problem is you're too happy about the Canada win over US. You don't give a crap about the Maple Leafs. Now you're done. Like, we won our gold medal. We don't need to win anything else. Okay, we're done. So, wow. Carly, could you imagine being a Canucks fan saying, you know what? Now, they've never won a cup. I'm happy if we make it to the third round. Yay.
Yeah, no. I'd still punch something.
I think we have to revoke Ishmael's.
I was happy that they made it to the playoffs last year and that they got as far as they did, but I'm like, wasn't good enough. Let's try harder.
I mean, the good news is, Ishmael, you probably won't have to play the Bruins this year because they always kick your ass in the playoffs. They'll knock you out every round. So it's like, all right, we can avoid the Bruins this year. That's good. But, oh, my God, I can't believe you said that. I'm so disappointed in you. I'm going to have to revoke your hockey fan card. That's it. We're done. All right, now that I've recovered from that shocking statement, let me go on a little soapbox about my favorite hockey team, my New York Rangers, who somebody on Sirius XM radio today had a show, and they said, we want people to call in and tell us, what do you think your team needs this season? And people would call up and say, we need goaltending, we need a scoring center. And I said, you know what the Rangers need? They need a lobotomy. The team is a joke right now. The last 2 games they won, Sunday and yesterday against the Islanders, they had a total, both games, a total of 30 shots on goal. In 2 games, they scored 10 goals. And the reason they scored 10 goals is because we played 2 stiffs in goal on Sunday against Pittsburgh and then last night against the Islanders. The goaltenders, oh my God, they were so horrible. Really bad. The Rangers' star players, Zibanejad, Kreider, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Panarin, Fox, 6 guys. They're invisible. Where are they? They're all making a lot of money. They're all cashing their paychecks and saying, you know what, we don't need to win a cup. We're good. We're happy with our $8 million. The team is a mess. All right? I hate the fact that they won the last 2 games because what that does is it's kind of a tease for Ranger fans. Like, oh, we have a chance to make the playoffs still. We're only 2 points out. And you know what that does? That makes the GM of the Rangers say, I'm going to go for it. Let me trade all my top prospects for some 39-year-old forward who's going to play like 2 more months and then be done. The Rangers are a mess. And then coming off last night's game, you have injuries to Adam Fox and K'Andre Miller. Now it makes it kind of tricky because the rumors were that we were going to maybe move on from Ryan Lindgren, who was an unrestricted free agent. We were going to move on from K'Andre Miller, unrestricted free agent. But if you have these injuries now in the back end and you have to put them on injured reserve, you can't trade these players.
Nope.
So it makes it kind of difficult. I think if I'm Chris Drury, I'm selling. If you can get things for these guys, I love Chris Kreider, but I'm sorry. Looks like he's near the end of the rope. If you can get anything for Kreider and give him a chance to win a cup somewhere else, do it. Zibanejad, if he's willing to waive his no trade clause, goodbye. Get rid of him. Panarin, I'll trade anybody. The thing I don't want them to do, they called up their number 1 draft pick, Brendan Othman, who played last night. I've been begging them to call him up for weeks. And the kid's got a bright future. I do not want to hope that they are showcasing this young player and they're going to package him in a trade for an aging superstar. Do not do that. Do not. Because if they do that, you're going to have a lot of Ranger fans like myself really ticked off. Because, you know what? Even if they make the playoffs this year, I'll be like Ishmael. I'll be happy if I get to the second round. Because that's as far as they would even go. They're not winning a cup this year. This team ain't going anywhere. They got a goaltender who's getting $11 million a year next year, who shows up every once in a while to play a good game. It's just very disappointing. So we'll now have 1 cup in 86 years going into next season. But no, Rangers ain't winning a cup. So that's the local perspective. Why don't we talk about other trade rumors we're hearing out there that, you know, might be out there for other teams to make. Carly,
I'll throw in for the Sharks real fast, and then I'll hit the Ducks. But we haven't had any sort of trade since we got rid of Granlund and Ceci for the 2 draft picks. But I will say that, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this, but Mario Ferrero has not done. He's been like a squirrel on the ice. Like, he has no consistency, hasn't been reliable. And honestly, like, I don't. Like, the last handful of games, every time he sets foot on the ice, we give up so many goals. Like, while he's playing. And he's had so many line pairings with different teammates. There's no chemistry between any of them because they cannot actually find someone that will mesh with him. And then, of course, we're down a few defenders as well. So, like, the Sharks are literally lacking defenders right now, and that has been coming in off this break. They've started the last 2 games. They've opened up the scoring. They've held their own until the end of the second period or the third period, and actually gave us hope that they could win something. But we have no defenders, and there's rumors that they're going to trade Mario. Then there's rumors that they're not. I hope they really do, and I hope to God that they trade him and not for a damn draft pick, because we need someone now.
Believe it or not, I've heard Ferraro going to the Rangers. Believe it or not, I've actually.
You can have him. You can have him.
He's only 26 years old. He's not old.
Yeah.
He's a defenseman, which is not a bad thing. But I really don't.
But he's just there's no connection.
I don't really know much about his game, to be honest with you. So
honestly, it's like watching a squirrel just bounce around. I'm not gonna lie. And he has good moments. He does.
Right. But
honestly, like, he needs to go, I think, in order for this rebuild to be rebuilt, like, to go through. And honestly, whatever trades we make next, I hope they actually get an actual body and not just like a promise of a draft pick, because we need people now. Like, and I'm going to jump down to the Ducks. So we got goaltender Ville Husso, I believe is how his name is said, from the Red Wings.
Yep.
Apparently no ties to Gibson being traded, even though there are rumors that Gibson could be traded. He is injured right now.
Every season.
Yes.
He's going to get traded. He's still there. But
yeah.
He's always hurt.
And he's been there his whole career, so it's kind of like...
He's always hurt.
Yeah, he's always hurt. He's hurt right now. They traded this guy. No one knows why we traded for a goaltender. They apparently don't need one. I don't follow the Ducks all that well.
Would they trade Dostal, who's their other goaltender? I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, Dostal's been healthier, so let's keep him. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there in with the Ducks or whatever, if Gibson's going to move or not, or if they're just going to keep teasing everybody that there's a trade going on. But
I was listening to another radio broadcast that I didn't realize the Ducks in the offseason were going really strong to get players like Steven Stamkos and some of these veteran free agents. They didn't get any of them, but they were really making an effort to grab these players to really do a quicker rebuild for their team. I could see Anaheim they're not making the playoffs this year, but I could see them making the play. I actually, and Ishmael, we'll go to you in a second. There's a couple of players out there right now. Does Nashville want to move on from Stamkos? Nashville's a mess. I don't. They signed all these guys with Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea, these big contracts. The team is a mess. It's real. I think they're probably one of, if not the biggest disappointment in the league. But does Anaheim readdress Stamkos and say, maybe we'll take him now? Maybe if you're willing to trade him. Another player,
get him for a good deal.
Yeah, another player I think could be moved. He's been moved once already, but it ain't working. That's Mikko Rantanen. He's been on Carolina for a few weeks. He's got like 2 points, 3 points.
Yeah.
There's no chemistry there at all.
No.
Carolina's not going to sign him because he's going to want like $14 million at the end of the year. They're not going to sign him. So does Carolina move him again before the deadline? Who knows? Ishmael, I know you're still recovering from that, euphoria of making the third round with the Maple Leafs. Are you hearing any other trade rumors out there that you're hearing?
I'm thinking that Buffalo they've got Bowen Byram and Dylan Cousins, so two like up and coming players. So I mean, let's be honest, like young players. Buffalo has been like rebuilding for on and on and on and on. I mean, young players, they don't thrive over there. These young kids. They should probably go somewhere else and they should succeed over there.
Buffalo needs some veterans on that team. They have no veterans on that team. That's what they need for leadership. If they had some veterans on that team, that there's a lot of talent in Buffalo. Trust me, I saw them play the Rangers this past weekend on Saturday night. They put a 5 spot on the Rangers in the first period. I'm like, what am I watching here? They do have talent. They just they're inconsistent because they're such a young team. I don't think the coach makes sense for them, but if they could get some veteran players into that mix, I really think they have a good nucleus in Buffalo. So I don't know if I want to trade a lot of these young players, but they're going to have to move some of these guys.
Yeah. And also, like, I was thinking about Utah's Logan Krause.
Oh.
Seems like you just mentioned that Buffalo could use some elderly advice. So what do you say? Like, could Utah, could Buffalo get someone like him on their turf?
Maybe they can bring Gordie Howe back from the dead and have him play for them. That's some elderly advice. Who knows? You never know. But I like I said, Buffalo. I feel bad that I'm a New York Jet fan, so I know how it feels to miss the playoffs for like 10 or 11 years in a row. And Buffalo's, I think, gone 14 years without making the playoffs, but they have a great fan base up there, and it sucks because they just haven't been in the playoffs in so long. And every year, people say this is the year Buffalo's going to make the playoffs, and this same thing happens. They suck, so they're not making it. I think they'll be making some moves at the deadline. One trade that I would love to see, and I don't know if we talked about this last week or not. We may have, because I know we're talking about the Four Nations and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, boy.
They're not making the playoffs. They're not. Nope, not going to make it. Now,
I didn't know that.
Big name player on that team. His name is Sidney Crosby. We all know in past years there have been big names that eventually Wayne Gretzky got traded. Ray Bourque got traded. Mark Messier got traded. Sidney Crosby is probably nearing the end of his career. He's had a great career. I'm not a fan of his personally, but I do acknowledge him being a great player. And he's still trying to perform with the Penguins, but he doesn't have any support on that team. Obviously, in the Four Nations, he got to play alongside hometown friend Nathan McKinnon, these Nova Scotia boys. And I think I may have said this last week. Everybody says Sidney's already said, no, I don't want to get traded. I don't want to be moved. I'm going to stay here in Pittsburgh. I'm going to end my career in Pittsburgh. No. I don't think that's the case. If the Penguins go to Sidney and say, look, we need to rebuild this team. We appreciate the fact that you want to stay for the rebuild, but we can rebuild the team quicker if we move somebody like yourself to get a lot of really good assets to help this team improve quicker. So my question is to you guys, would Sidney Crosby waive his no-trade clause or whatever he has and say, okay, I'll go to Colorado to play with Nathan McKinnon? I say yes.
I think he would, but I also think that it would also come in the form of Nathan McKinnon also calling him and begging him just to make that decision.
Please, Sid,
You
come
know, a
on.
little spice in there.
But it also begs the question: will Nathan McKinnon come to Pittsburgh?
No,
Nathan McKinnon is not going to Pittsburgh.
he's happy where he's at.
Why would he do that? Unless he's into the iron mills or whatever. Well, why would Nathan McKinnon go to Pittsburgh? No. No, he's staying where he is. I think Nathan McKinnon is the best player in the NHL right now. That's my opinion.
I think, honestly, again, Team Canada, everybody can come at me. I think, honestly, McKinnon was probably one of the best players for Team Canada for the Four Nations because he scored in almost every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Crosby and McDavid, I feel like their names were only talked about because of who they are.
Well, exactly.
McKinnon proved something, and I love him for it.
Yeah, no, I said this to somebody today when I was in the gym. I said, all right, if you're a general manager of a team, let's say you're the general manager of the Rangers, and you have a chance to go out there and sign one player to your team, let's say every NHL player is a free agent at the end of the year. One player to add to your team. Who are you going to add? Me, personally, I'm adding Nathan McKinnon over the other two that you just mentioned.
I'm in a hockey fantasy league, and he is like the first person that I added, and I have not traded him this entire time. He's consistent.
Guy's a beast. But
I will not give him up.
I would, like I said, it would be really cool if on hockey trade deadline day, a name like Sidney Crosby got traded. That would it would also cause a lot of news because
I think Pittsburgh would burn down.
You really think so?
No.
I feel like there would be a lot of stuff coming out of Pitt. Like I just feel like a lot of people would just be so unhappy because they're just too clouded. They're too clouded. They're just looking at the name.
I get it, but if you're a fan of the Penguins, you realize that you got no future right now.
Yeah.
How are you going to improve this? How are you going to improve the team? You're going to go to pick draft picks every year until you improve it, or do you take players like Crosby and even Malkin, or even Letang, these aging veterans that you have, and you move them to a team that's trying to win a cup? These guys have value. You put them on some of these cup contenders, they'll give you stuff back. They'll give you possibly first-round draft picks with top prospects. That's the only way you're going to improve this team. And if you're a Penguin fan, do you want to do that? Or you just want to watch all these guys just get really old and have walkers on the ice and ride off into the sunset, and then once they leave, your team still sucks. I move them. I get them out. I trade them away.
I will laugh really, really hard if this all comes down to it on trade day if he gets traded. Like just because we're having this conversation now, it'll be funny for me.
I think this year more than ever, there's going to be
anything can happen.
I think there's going to be a lot of big names moved on March 7th. I really believe next Friday there's going to be a lot of big name players that are going to be traded more than the last few years. It's going to be really interesting. You have teams. I did see
the Penguins want to get rid of Erik Karlsson. They're literally begging anybody to take him.
Oh yeah,
that's another guy. That's another aging player. Erik Karlsson doesn't. Why am I keeping Erik Karlsson on my team? What value is he giving us? He's older. Yeah. He was a great player, but he's not going to help us get to the playoffs. Trade him. Move him on. Get rid of him.
You got 10 days. Make something happen.
Him in Pittsburgh. Kyle Dubas. Guys got booted out of Toronto. Hopefully he can do something right in Pittsburgh. No?
Yeah. Don't remind us about that, man.
Oh, okay, fine. Like I said, I really think Pittsburgh's going to be a player come trade deadline day. I think they're going to be a major player, and I really think they're going to make a lot of moves. But we'll see. I'll talk about another team here in the East Coast, the Islanders, who I obviously dislike being a Ranger fan. The Islanders have been in the same position for the last 3 years. They're an older team. They're slow. They don't score goals. But they have a general manager who just keeps standing pat. Lou Lamoriello was a great GM back in the days with the Devils, but I think he's past his prime. With the loss yesterday to the Rangers, I believe they're now 7 points out of the wild card. I believe the Islanders have to say to themselves, enough is enough. Even if we sneak in like we did last year, we're not doing anything. Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson, even their captain, Anders Lee, their defenseman, Noah Dobson, get them out. Move them. Trade them. Rebuild this team. Because if you keep this team the way it is now, Patrick Roy, he's going to lose his mind. He's going to go crazy. I really believe he'll be pulling the goalie in the second periods of hockey games. I mean, it's just So I see the Islanders being a player trade deadline day.
Yeah.
I see the Boston Bruins also being a player. Do they move Brad Marchand? I mean,
Oh no, Brad Marchand has said that he's staying put in Boston.
but the rumor that I heard is that he's willing to let them trade him because he's an unrestricted free agent. So they'll trade him to get assets back, and then he will re-sign with the Bruins in the offseason. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So could be wrong. Could be wrong. But there's just so many teams out there that are going to be making moves. I mean, you go up and down the list. Washington, I'm still blown away with how well they're playing. I'm just shocked. And we can get into Ovechkin in a couple of minutes. But the one thing about the Capitals is they didn't have a single player playing in this Four Nations tournament. Not one. So they're very well rested. The first two games back, they scored like 15 goals.
Yeah.
Logan Thompson, who I never thought was a good goalie, he's playing. I got to give him credit. He's played very well. Yep. It's amazing, the transformation that, going back to the Penguins, the Capitals, they played the Rangers in the playoffs last year. We knocked them out easy. They were supposed to be declining, getting older. They did some tweaks, little tweaks, nothing crazy. And look what they've become. You know? I don't see them doing anything major at the deadline because I don't know what they need per se. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Any other teams
been on it.
Yeah, any other teams you guys want to bring up?
Not that I can think of. I know the Canadians have possibly trying to trade Jake Evans. I don't know where he would fit, but I also feel like he's been the last few years fairly reliable for the Canadians. So I'd hate to see him go, but that's also been a rumor is that they're looking to wheel him.
I could see Winnipeg making some deals because Winnipeg's a cup contender. I really believe that. I know that the people in the States would hate that because the ratings in America would be horrible. Nobody cares about Winnipeg here in the U.S. I'm sorry, they just don't. So if Winnipeg makes the finals, I think the NHL Stanley Cup final ratings will be as bad as the NBA All-Star ratings. They'll be terrible. But I see Winnipeg maybe going after another depth defenseman, somebody else to shore up their blue line a little bit. I think they're really good offensively. I don't even know what they would use, but I could see them being active. I can see Florida being active. And the other team that I can also see being active because it seems like they make a big move every trade deadline. West Coast team on your side of the woods, Carly. Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas,
as much as I hate them.
They always do something. I mean, they got Tomas Hertl last year at trade deadline. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I can see them making a move. What they're going to do, I don't know. But I could totally see them making some big surprise move at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. It's going to be exciting. I love trade deadline day. I actually purposely take a day off of work or I work from home and I just turn on the TV to the NHL Network and I just sit there and watch it all day long. The funny thing is, you have all these NHL experts and they're all sitting in the studio. The NHL Network in Canada on TSN, they have like 15 to 20 guys in the studio and they got all these different tables and they're all just sitting there with nothing to do. They're just dying for a trade to discuss. And in the meantime, they're just talking about all this BS to try to like fill airtime. And they're like, "Oh, we have a trade! They're all excited about it. Yeah. But it is fun. It is a lot of fun. So
Before I was into hockey, I was like, man, these white guys are getting excited for no reason, man.
They'd be like a minor league transaction of two guys you never heard of who are never going to play in the league, but they're like, oh, they have their.
They would make it be so important.
Yeah, they have the bells go up. Hey, we have a trade. Ding, 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 ding. I'm like, who are these people? I've never heard of these people. But I think this year they're going to be busy. I really believe that. So we'll see what happens.
It's been way too quiet lately.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it's all going to just come down to that day before or the day of.
It'll make for an exciting conversation when we reconvene next week. But let's move off that. Ishmael, why don't we talk about another topic? What would you like to discuss?
Let's talk about the Alex Ovechkin, the great chase, as they call it. Great
closing in.
Okay, so as you know, he scored a hat trick. But before we get into that, let's run through some stats, which is my favorite thing.
Stat guy. Okay.
So Alex Ovechkin, in his this is his 20th season. So so just this past game against Calgary, he scored his 30th goal. Right, that was his 19th season scoring his 30th goal out of 20. So this is so
It's crazy.
so in 20 seasons, he has scored 30 or more goals 19 times.
Which year did he not score 30 goals?
Let me just have a look.
I'm gonna get my stat guy off guard over here. See if he knows the answer.
2021.
It's like, oh no.
When was it?
2021.
Okay. Did he play a full season?
Actually, no. That's the 45. That's the shortened season.
It was the shortened season. That's why he didn't score the 30 goals. So, all right, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's kind of, and it's also pretty amazing. I actually have another stat right here.
Look at you.
He's all prepared.
So here it is. If you didn't know, so when Alex Ovechkin was 37, he scored 42 goals. 38, he scored 31. 39, he scored 30. But Wayne Gretzky, when he was 36, he scored 25. 37, he scored 23. At 38, he scored 9. So this guy Ovechkin, as he's aging, he's actually getting better.
So since you're into stats, here's a question for you. And I don't know the answer to this. Who was the oldest player in the NHL to ever score more than 30 goals, and how old were they?
That I don't know, my friend.
All right, well, you got work to do for next week now. You got to research this and get back to us, because I don't even know the answer to that one. So I'm just curious. Who was the old? Could it be Mark Messier? I don't know. I'm trying to think who.
I'll take a guess. It's Jaromir Jagr.
Maybe. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, he's still playing, but maybe it could be. But that's your schoolwork assignment for the week, is to find out who is the oldest NHL player to score 30 goals and how old were they. But
does it have to be in the NHL or can it be the KHL?
No, it's just the NHL. I don't. We're not going to the World Hockey Association or anything else. The American Hockey, no, NHL players. Well, I
have a feeling that if Russia is allowed to play, in the Olympics next year, we'll see a fully charged, ready to go Alex Ovechkin.
See, it's funny. Yeah. I was thinking that if he didn't break the record this year, right, and all signs point that he's going to break the record. Let's say the Capitals win the Stanley Cup this year. Does he retire?
No.
I feel like he would just want to do it again. Like, what else can I do? I feel like he would want to do at least one more year, see what else he could break.
Well, I think the reason for that is because he could play in the Olympics next year to represent his country. If there was no Olympics next year, I would disagree with you. I'd say I think he's done.
I feel like Alex Ovechkin is the kind of person who feels like hockey is his life, and without it, he's nothing. So I think he's going to do this until he's physically no longer able to walk. So
the guy's a freak. He broke his leg, and he
was back 4 weeks later.
3 weeks. I'd be out for months. I'd be out for
tracksuit and skates. Tracksuit and skates.
3 weeks.
So fashionable.
That's amazing. So all right. So are we all in agreement that we think that he's going to break the record this year?
Yeah, he's only 12 goals away from it. And honestly, if he can score at least 1 goal a game, I say that he would have it done by like the 3rd week, 4th week of March. Everyone says April because if he doesn't score every game, but that hat trick really helped him.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think he'll hit it in March. I think so.
Ishmael, when do you think he's breaking the record?
I'm just saying he's breaking the record. I'm not saying when. I'm not gonna bet.
Season.
I'm not gonna bet anymore after I flopped that last bet. So
you're still upset about me kicking your ass about the 3rd round entrance for the playoffs for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, damn right I am.
Oh my god!
So
you don't want to make.
I just became like Southern with that. You better.
I'm gonna predict. Ovechkin's gonna break the record on the night that the Capitals clinch the President's Trophy in the NHL this year. I don't know when that'll be. That might not be until April, though. So you know what?
You could wait it off, Get that 1 goal away.
Yeah, a lot of empty netters out there too. So, but
that is true. Let
me revise that statement. That's not my prediction because that might wait till the end of the season. It's not going to take that long. As long as he doesn't get hurt again.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Carly. I can see him breaking
Okay,
it.
so here's what I expect. I expect
now you put it.
him to score the record-breaking goal, and then Vladimir Putin to say to come down and say, "America is ours now." Huh.
Oh, that's what's going to happen.
Oh
Putin's
no.
going to say, okay, the war is over in Ukraine. Ovechkin is now the all-time goal-scoring leader. You know, we're going to name a territory after Ovechkin. I don't know, whatever, but interesting.
Ovechkinville. How about that? Florida's not Ovechkinville.
Ovechkinville.
You know, it's funny when I
Just
first
rename
started,
Washington.
when I first started watching Ovechkin, I hated him because he always scores against the Rangers. But now that I've got to see his complete work over the years, so much respect for the guy. Because like we said earlier, he's not your typical European hockey player. The guy, he's a goal scorer, but he throws his weight around. He's a tank. The guy's 39 years old. And you could see his love. When he scores a goal, he still gets so excited. He's like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's all gray now, he's like a little kid. And you know what? When he won the cup in 2018, you could just see how joyful he was just to finally win a cup. Because how many great players play a whole career without winning a cup? Hello, Henrik Lundqvist. You know, and he won a cup. And I wouldn't mind seeing him win one more before he retires, especially if he's going to break Gretzky's record. Maybe it's this year. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe it'll be an old W final, Washington, Winnipeg. We'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens. But I kind of agree with you, Carla. I could see third week in March, we're going to be seeing Wayne Gretzky come on the ice to congratulate Alex as he breaks his record. And,
yeah. Which I think is awesome that Wayne even like told him like, yeah, I want you to break it.
Oh, yeah.
And that he even said like, I want to be there like when you do it. Just because when Gretzky broke the record, you know, like, so I'm just excited. Just I love that camaraderie.
Yeah, I just don't want to see Gary Bettman on the ice sucking up to him. Please, just go away. Just stop. Just let Gretzky come on there and congratulate. We don't need to see Bettman on the ice, you know, because then he's going to get booed off the ice and it ruins the moment. It's going to be great, and it's a great.
Does Ovechkin really want to see Bettman anyways when he breaks it? No,
nobody wants to. No. But it'll be a great lead into the playoffs, so it'll be a lot of fun. So, but I think you're right. I think he breaks the record probably third week in March. So another thing to look forward to with the grade 8, as they say. So we can move off that topic now, Ishmael, and we can probably discuss one more thing if you want to pick another subject before we call it a night.
So there was a big signing over this week, the Kevin Lankinen signing.
Kevin Lankinen?
Kevin Lankinen signing.
We'll let Carly talk about that since that's her goaltender. I wouldn't call it a big signing, but Carly seems to have a crush on him. So we'll let Carly.
No, I just think that Vancouver has no goaltenders right now, and he's our best bet at doing anything. Demko's out again. He played like 2 or 3 games and then removed himself. Shilov's, he's a body, not that good. Right now, he's just still down the AHL. And then right now, so we only have Lankinen. And so I felt coming in after the 4 Nations that if he was not signed by Vancouver, we would lose him immediately just because of his performance during the 4 Nations. Like, he didn't play every game, but he was still somewhat reliable. So I'm just happy to the fact that Vancouver at least has a goaltender that we can trust right now, who's healthy. Because our backup goaltender, who is the best person for that team, is currently out, and we have nobody. And if we can't even have Pettersson score, or we can't sign Besser, we need somebody. So I'm just really excited that I don't have to, give up another sad face player that actually benefits our organization.
Like I said, I think Demko's a great goaltender, but he's always hurt. That's the problem. He gets hurt all the time, so you can't rely on him. He's been out
like all season, and also last playoffs. Like, it's been consistent this year.
If he was healthy, would you trade him?
If he was healthy, I would say no. I would feel like we could get another few years with him before we really needed to get rid of him.
You would rotate him and Lankinen? No, there's no true number 1.
In my opinion, yes. Because we had Silovs last year when Demko was out for playoffs, and he was fantastic during the playoffs. He made such a big impact during our playoff run. But when they brought him back this year, when Demko was out, we needed Lincoln and him as backup. It was like the worst. It was the worst time to watch a game. Like I struggled when he was in the net just because something happened. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't the same person we saw in playoffs.
Mm.
And so I don't know if it's just we need further development. Maybe he just got a little too cocky. I don't know.
So my question to you,
So at this,
you're a Canuck fan. Do they make the playoffs this year?
as of now, we're in the second wildcard spot unless we lose tonight and Detroit wins, because Detroit is, I believe, 1 or 2 points behind us. So right now, Detroit has a better chance.
Detroit's
sorry.
in the other conference. Detroit's in the other conference. No, stop that. Is it Calgary that's right behind Vancouver?
Let me pull it up real fast.
Yeah, no. That's Eastern Conference. And then I got to
Yeah,
follow up.
sorry. No, I was thinking of Calgary. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Calgary bumped us.
Yeah.
Calgary has 64. We have 63. So we were in the wild card spot for that, but
So then
Calgary has taken it.
So here's my question to you, and it kind of coincides with my rant about the Rangers earlier. Since you're a Canuck fan, do you want them to just sneak into the playoffs this year and probably get knocked out in the first round, or do you say, you know what, we got to improve this team, we got to make some moves to improve it for next year and move for the future?
I'm going to take the latter on that. I think that if we make playoffs, fantastic. I'm not going to put all my money on it. But right now we need to make decisions. Who are we keeping? Who are we trading? Who are we going to get and receive? Just because, yes, we could go into playoffs this season if they can pull their heads out of their asses right now. But I would rather have them have a healthy run next year and come back regrouped and then maybe add some new players to the group and be like, at this point, I'm checked out. I'm like, I will still watch you and love you, but I don't think we're going to make it to playoffs. And if we do, fantastic, but we're not going to last that long.
But who knows? If you're fortunate enough to make the playoffs, you could be excited like Ishmael and see if you make the third round. You'll be all excited about that, right, Ishmael?
I'll just be like, woo.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're going all in. We're going straight to the top. That's
Yeah, okay. I didn't see you change your opinion all of a sudden because we're giving you crap. Okay, whatever. So
I do have one more thing, not with Vancouver. But yesterday, Cole Caulfield notched his 200 points for his career, which is the fastest player to reach this milestone in the Canadiens franchise in 30 years.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Did not know that.
He's
Cole
been awesome.
By the way,
Cole Caulfield, I think, is the smallest player in the NHL.
Yes, he's so tiny.
By the way,
I think he's so tiny. He's my height, but I call him tiny because he looks small. And
For a
nice.
hockey player, you'd be tiny, basically. So
Yeah.
it's all good. I think
By
he's
the
like
way-
an Oompa Loompa skating around the ice right now from like Willy Wonka. But he's good. He's a
He's
good
such a
player.
dhe's player. It's great.
Very good. But he looks
He's had a
like
good
12
season.
He looks like he's 12 years old. Did you ever see him?
Right?
My
Yeah.
God. He looks
Baby
so
face.
young.
just
What were
one
you
more
gonna
info. So Toronto, in this week they won a game against Chicago in Chicago.
Okay.
That was their first regulation win in Chicago since what year?
Since what year? 1992.
No, we're not that bad, man.
2010.
Can anyone does the chat have access to this? Does anyone want to write that in the chat? Okay,
I'm still waiting for you to let me know who the oldest hockey player to score over 30 goals is. Now you give me this other question now. So I don't
we
know.
have homework.
5, 4, 3, 2, 2003.
So 22
February.
years.
February 12, 2003.
That was the last time I won in Chicago. Really?
Last time they won in regulation in Chicago.
Okay, so I'm going to throw another one right back at you, Mr. Stat Guy. So last night, the Maple Leafs came back and beat the Bruins. It was the first time they came back from a 3-goal deficit in the third period since what year?
Chat help.
You don't know that one, do you?
No.
1991.
Oh,
See, I
geez.
knew that one.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, I was. So, but gotta make me feel old, Carly. That's really nice. So whatever.
Yeah.
You're
Yes,
all gonna-
1991. So now you can put that down on your little stat sheet. The next week you bring out all your stats. You have that one to add to it. So yes, it was a good comeback last night, and I was happy because they stole a point from the Bruins, so the Rangers can now tie them. But again, just teasing us, boys. Just keep teasing us. We're very close to the playoffs, so it's good.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
then we crash and burn.
by the way, and just one thing I wanted to mention. I'm not sure if it caught on your US broadcast, but after the Maple Leafs, they won the game. The camera panned towards the fans, and there was one fan. She was like this to the camera,
Oh,
and
well, that happens.
and I was like, yeah, you mad, bro? You
One
mad?
thing we can
You
talk
mad,
about next week. I don't know. Well, you don't get it in Canada, Carly, but I want to compare and get your opinion on. You have in the States, you have ESPN and you have TNT, both doing hockey coverage.
Yes.
Who do you prefer and why? I'll give you my opinions. You can give me your opinion. Let's save it. Let's save it for next week because
Okay.
I think
I was like, I watched both.
I think both networks have positives, but both networks, in my opinion, have negatives too. So
Yeah.
in Canada, I believe you only get TSN. You don't get ESPN or TNT.
We get Sportsnet, TSN, and Sportsnet.
Oh, Sportsnet. That's okay. That's right. They
and
sold it.
some games we stream on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, like you guys have like the coast to coast something tomorrow
Yeah,
on
coast
Amazon.
to coast. Yeah, Amazon Prime. Yeah, I think you heard of those, right?
Well, look,
Yeah.
guys, this was a great talk. Obviously, when we reconvene next Wednesday, it'll be March 5th. It will be 2 days before the big NHL trade deadline. We can see if there have been any moves made between now and then to discuss, and we can get really, in depth as far as any other rumors we're hearing. I think it's going to be a really busy day next Friday. And, until then, I guess we can call it a night. I want to thank Carly and Ishmael for joining us tonight. I'm Rob, and for all you millions of people that are on YouTube right now watching us, we appreciate that. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel on Stadium Rant. The show is called Pucks Deep. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I will be wearing a different hockey jersey every week. And, of course, Ishmael will wear the same Canada shirt every week as long as he makes sure he washes it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it, guys. Anything else you want to say?
No.
No, I'm
Thank
good.
everyone for logging on.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
guys. This has been Pucks Deep. Have a great hockey night, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Have a great night.